The Grim Tale of Grace Macabre. Chapter 45. The hospital smelled of disinfectant and desperation. The elevator that Grace took to the 4th floor where Ian's room was located smelled faintly of vomit, though that could have been her overactive imagination. She detested hospitals. Instead of seeing them as buildings filled with doctors and nurses compassionately caring for the sick, she saw hospitals as staging areas for the dying, a sad, lonely waiting room for the doomed. People came here not to have hope of healing or dignity in death. They came here to solemnly wait for darkness to overtake them. The door slid open, and she stepped out into a long hallway that led to a nurse's station. The nurse's station served as a hub for this hall and 3 others that veered off in various directions. There were dozens of rooms filled with sick people. Grace felt a cold depression come over her. She already knew Ian's room number, so she proceeded down the appropriate hallway. She passed one room where an emaciated elderly man was sleeping on a bed. He was colorless, and his mouth gaped open as he slept. It looked as if he were silently screaming for the end to come, and he was completely alone. Her depression wrapped tighter around her. Other rooms contained people of different ages, race, and ailments. She stopped looking into them, hoping that by simply ignoring them, she would be spared a deeper descent into her depression. She was completely wrapped in a dark mood by the time she reached Ian's door. She knocked softly and pushed it open to reveal a room full of light and color. Where all the other rooms she had just passed had curtains drawn and lights low, Ian's room had the curtains thrown completely open, and bright, cleansing light washed away any hint of shadow and despair. A dozen bouquets filled with a variety of vibrant flowers had been placed around the room. Brightly colored helium-filled balloons danced at the ends of their strings. There were 4 people in the room: Ian's mother and father, a news reporter, and a cameraman. They all turned as Grace entered the room. "Grace," Ian said, his face brightening. "I'm so glad you came." Ian's smile washed over her, and she felt instantly better. Her depression retreated from his wide grin and his cheerful attitude. When Ian's mother stood and hugged her, thanking her for coming, the remnants of her depression vanished. The reporter, a too pretty, overly made-up blonde woman, turned and fixed a practiced smile on Grace. "Are you the young lady that Ian saved from being shot?" Grace felt a tinge of anger flare up inside her. Ari helped too, she thought. "Yes, I am," she replied, a hint of frustration in her voice. The reporter held out her hand. "I'm Brandy Sharp," she said eagerly. "I'm with Channel 6 News, and I would love to interview you about what happened." Grace was unsure how to respond. She did not want any attention whatsoever about the shooting. "I don't know," she said, remembering how the runaways felt about privacy. Ian was sitting up in bed. He reached up and grabbed Grace by the hand. When she looked down at him, he gave her a wink. "I kept telling Miss Sharp that I didn't want to do an interview either, Grace, but then I realized it would be a great opportunity for me to set the record straight. So I finally gave in. I think it would be a good opportunity to dispel all the rumors out there." "What rumors?" Grace said. She realized that she had been completely out of the loop on the aftermath of the shooting. She had been too busy living her new life as one of the runaways. Suddenly, the memory of the detectives accusing her of forcing Justin to do the shooting pushed its way into her mind. The fear of them not finding enough evidence to exonerate her scared her. She knew it was just a matter of time before they pushed themselves back into her life. "Oh, there are all kinds of rumors flying around," Brandy said. She intensely watched Grace. "Like the rumor about you and Justin and Brandon being in a love triangle." "What?" Grace replied. Acid churned in her stomach. "That's ridiculous. It's a blatant lie." "So you deny those rumors?" Brandy prompted. "Absolutely. I had a class with each of them, but I've never had any other involvement with them, especially any romantic involvement." "Well, this would be a good time to clear all that up," Brandy replied. "If you would just allow me to ask you some formal questions and get it on camera, your side of all this would be on record for everyone to hear." I don't think I'm ready for that," Grace replied. "Maybe later." Brandy looked disappointed. She handed Grace a business card. "Well then, will you allow me the opportunity of being the first to interview you, if you should decide to give one?" Grace took the card. "Sure." Brandy turned back to Ian. "Thank you, Ian, for giving me this interview." She motioned for the cameraman to stop filming, and they left the room. Mary turned to her husband. "Why don't we go to the cafeteria for some coffee?" Ian's dad pushed himself up from his chair. "Great idea. I need to stretch my legs anyway." He stepped out into the hall and gave a hopeful glance back over his shoulder at Grace and Ian. When his parents had wandered down the hallway toward the elevators, Ian's expression turned serious. "Grace, I've got something I need to share with you, and it's going to seem crazy. Promise me you will keep an open mind." Grace gave his hand a reassuring squeeze. She was afraid to tell him that there would be little he could say that would surprise her. She had just seen too much over the past few days. "Okay," she said. "I promise." Ian gave her a look that seemed to suggest that he wasn't so sure of her conviction. "Okay. First, I want to ask you a question. Do you believe in miracles?" Grace recalled the strawberry dragonflies and the breathing, flying flowers, how they made her soul fill with wonder. She had come to accept these as more than dreams or visions. She just wished she knew why and how they were happening to her. "I'm not sure," she answered honestly. "I have come to believe in extraordinary and supernatural occurrences, but I just don't know if I would call them miracles." "Let's say you have a dream," Ian said, "and in that dream you are given an item. Do you think it's possible that you would be able to bring that item from your dream into the real world?" Grace froze. Her skin tingled as if a billion microscopic insects had decided to skitter over her. She never would have guessed that Ian would have presented this exact scenario to question her about the possibility of miracles. "Why do you ask?" she stammered. Ian's eyes narrowed as he witnessed her reaction to his question. "If I said I brought something from a dream into reality, there can be only two possible explanations. Either I'm crazy, or a miracle occurred." Those would seem to be the only two explanations, Grace said, regaining her composure. Though I'm not sure I would say it was a miracle, only a supernatural occurrence. Ian paused, considering his next move. Okay. I would challenge you to consider what caused that supernatural thing to happen. But that's a conversation for later. I don't care if you think I'm crazy, but I need to show you something. Up to this point, she had wanted to understand the recent strange events in her life. She sensed that what he was about to show her would bring clarity. But now she feared a deeper understanding would bring a truth to light that she had thus far been unwilling to see. She wanted to run from the room, to use her free will to keep herself in the dark. But that was not an option. She had to stay. She had to listen. And she had to see. So she said, "Okay." Ian reached over to the nightstand and picked up a small wooden box. "I had a dream this morning, Grace. I was standing in this beautiful garden at midnight. The ground was covered in magnificent glowing flowers that turned to butterflies when I stepped on them." Grace felt as if she were now a statue. She could not move. She could not speak. "I followed a path into the middle of the garden," Ian continued, "and there was this ancient, gnarled tree that whispered to me. As I stepped closer to hear what it was saying, and I reached out and touched one of the branches, seemingly out of nowhere, the tree created life. It was amazing. And the thing that the tree created was something I've never seen." Ian held the box to her so that she could take it. It was about the size of an eyeglass case. The grain of the wood weaved an intricate pattern, exactly like the bark on the whispering tree in the dream garden. Grace took it and was not surprised to find that it was warm to the touch, making her hands tingle. "What is it?" she asked in a hushed tone. "A miracle," Ian responded. "And it's yours, Grace." Grace looked up at him, confused. "Mine? I know that I'm supposed to give this to you, but the box is not the miracle. Open it up and see." Grace grasped the top of the box and gingerly pulled it up. And lying inside the box was a strawberry dragonfly.